Yes, back to the original. Oh my gosh, I dropped stuff. I don't like my headphones right there. I'm going to have to change that. Back to the original music. I don't know. Is that an omen? Is that a bad start? I don't know. But welcome to RickCast in a sea of vapid and pompous podcasts. You are listening to another one or partaking in another one, however you want to call it. I am your host, the titular Rick, and I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today on the 28th of January 2025 in the year of our Lord. And I hope everybody's having a good night. A lot better than me. I'm dropping stuff all over the place. But that's okay, because I'm here with you, ladies and gentlemen, and I am happy to see you as well, my friend. So thank you guys for hanging out. Keep the chat going. Let me know what you guys are thinking as we get into our topics. Obviously, we're going to talk about Trump, mentioning about the income tax. Good thing, bad thing, you guys can let me know. I know the basic and the instinctual response from conservatives are, yes, very good. And it is, but you know, there's also things to be considered in that as well. Karoline Levitt, her debut as the White House press secretary happened today. Went over pretty well, and Trump continues his pretty solid track record. I think the worst press secretary he picked was Spicer, and that's just because Spicer he had the worst job of any of them. You know, going in day one and just trying to, because that press was out for blood, so Spicer was in a no-win situation. And also, I think women are better better to be press secretaries, just because they like that kind of that back and forth. It's in women's nature to argue and prove that they are right. So I think that works out better for them as far as them being in that position. We're going to talk about the obese Detroit rapper. This is only going to be a hot take. I got a little like whisker there. Got a little hot take that it was supposed to be a hot take, but it's kind of blown up. Emphasis on blown up. The obese rapper in Detroit who sued Lyft because the guy who pulled up was like, honey, you're 500 pounds. You ain't fitting in my car. And then, of course, this hard as nails rapper got offended and is now suing Lyft. And she's going to make a lot of money for being fat and obese and just being just an absolute disgusting person. And that's not a comment on the person. You know, it's tough because you can't let yourself get that fat. As a guy who is constantly fighting the obesity, you know, the fat battle that I am, you know, I constantly am fighting it. It's and so, you know, you can't let yourself ever get that bad. There's no reason you should. And so it's kind of it's a perfect microcosm of the society. Good evening, the Pacific Northwest. The beautiful trees up there up in the Pacific Northwest. I hope you're having a great night. And so I'm happy to have you with me tonight. The Pacific Northwest is representing. And we'll see what else happens there. And then, of course, our last story of the day is going to be Anthony Mackie, the newest star of Captain America, New World Order, or whatever it's called, Brave New World, or whatever the case it is. It's gone through like 6 different rewrites. He hates Captain America. Sorry, as you can tell, you can tell I have a green screen because that's green and it disappears. My wife got me these new Juno mineral water like energy drinks. They're supposed to be like natural because I drink too many. If you've watched this program, you know I watch too many. I drink too many like Coke Zeros and stuff like that. She's like, nah, if you're gonna drink that much, you gotta at least drink this natural energy, whatever. Apparently it's got organic monk fruit in it, so that's supposed to make me more energetic. Anyway, so if you see like a phantom cup, that's because there's green and the green screen does not allow it. So Anthony Mackie, who's the star of Captain America, thinks America sucks. And is not going to be very happy when the Captain America movie does not do well. But I think they're also kind of bracing for this. This film, and we'll talk about this as is that James. Come on, man, don't make fun of that. Don't be mean. My wife's trying to do nice things by getting me healthy drinks. Don't don't insult my energy drink by linking it with James Martin, Michael. Boo, boo. Come on, man. Be nice. Be nice. Monk. It says monk fruit right there. What do you want, man? I'm sorry you're not cultured like my energy drink. Yes, he's a loser because he doesn't like Captain America, the actual character. Michael, you keep it up, you're gonna get a timeout. So the fact of the matter is, we're gonna talk about that as well. And it's Captain America. Probably I know this much. Captain America doesn't drink monk fruit. That's why he's a loser. So I'm glad Michael has a sense of humor with that. And you all enjoy my monk fruit because I think it's delicious. It's already helping. But so yeah, we got all that. It's gonna be a lot of fun tonight, as you can tell. We try to have fun on these shows, and it's not a new show per se. It's kind of just like an idea. We kind of just recap the stories of the day. Think about just kind of hanging out after work or after whatever you're doing, and we'll kind of just figure out what's going on. But there is something I want to bring to attention. There's 2 hot takes we have, but before we get to those, let me get my self-promotional things out of the way, because if I don't, who will, right? If nobody else promotes me, who will not? So it's very interesting in that regard. First one is coming up in like 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks from now. Yep. 2 weeks. Because I can count. Let's see here. So in 2 weeks, coming up, ladies and gentlemen, we have the 15th annual Catholic Men's Conference in the Carolinas. It's actually the Carolina Men's Catholic Conference, and it is available. You can get tickets at CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org, CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org. February 8th, we're going to have a great lineup. The Bishop of Charleston will be there. John Frankman, a former U.S. Green Beret, will be there. Anthony and Rob of Avoiding Babylon will be there. John Edwards, Catholic for Rednecks, will be there. Myself and Enoch will be performing and presenting as well. Get your tickets today at CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org, CatholicMenOfTheCarolinas.org. I'm pretty sure they won't be serving monk fruit there. If that makes you upset, you'll be okay. Also, second thing, buy my book, The Armed Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense, which you can get on Amazon.com. I actually had a really nice review the other day from somebody. And yes, if you do buy from Amazon, please forgive me for the font size. The font was a little bit smaller because it was an issue. There's these 2 programs I use, and I'll get to the stories. I know everybody's like, shut up. Self-publishing is a pain because I did a draft. I put it on this website called Draft to Digital, which is Barnes and Noble and all these others. No problem, no sweat. Thing went fine. Did the same exact copy, print, font, everything. Uploaded it to Amazon, and Amazon gave me this book that was like 8 by 11. It was this huge book instead of the book you have now. And I'm going, this is ridiculous. So I went through all of these different things to try and get it to fit a normal book size, which is why the font is tiny. I'm currently working to try and get a new version up as well. Thank you, Lou, for your review of the book, and I greatly appreciate that. Every review helps. Reach out to me, and I'll see if you want any of the merch that I told you I would take care of you if you'd like, because you did it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that's the 2 things. Buy my book at Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com if you don't like Amazon. And if you are in the Mid-Atlantic area and you want to come to an awesome conference, the 15th Annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas will be February 8th, 2025. So let's get to it, folks. I got a couple of hot takes here. The first one, let's just get to this. Jim Acosta goes bye-bye.
All of the wonderful people who work behind the scenes at this network. You may have seen some reports about me and the show. And after giving all of this some careful consideration and weighing an alternative time slot CNN offered me,
that means they gave him like the weekend 9 a.m. or the weekend 7 p.m. Sunday slot that nobody watches.
Decided to move on. I am grateful to CNN for the nearly 18 years I've spent here doing the news. People often ask me if the highlight of my career at CNN was at the White House covering Donald Trump. Actually, no. That moment came here when I covered former President Barack Obama's trip to Cuba in 2016 and had the chance to question the dictator there, Raul Castro, about the island's political prisoners. As the son of a Cuban refugee, I took home this lesson. It is never a good time to bow down to a tyrant.
Oh, are you
I've
talking
always
about
believed
Trump?
It's the job of the press to hold
Are you
power
talking
to
about
account.
Trump?
I've
Are you trying to be
always tried to do that
sly,
here
like
at
a little
CNN,
sly dog?
and I plan on doing all of that in the future.
No, you don't.
One final message. Don't give in to the lies. Don't give in to the fear.
Jim, you are the lies. You are the fear. And you are the one who tried to grandstand your role at the White House to get a bigger payout. And it ended badly because you came off looking petty.
Hold on to the truth and to hope. Even if you have to get out your phone, record that message. I will not give in to the lies. I will not give in to the fear.
Give
Post
it to
on
the
your social
fear.
media so people can hear from you too. I'll have more to say about my plans in the coming
Now
days.
is not
but
the
until
time
then,
for
I want
fear.
to thank all of you for tuning in. It has been an honor to be welcomed into your home for all these years.
You weren't welcome, buddy. You were
That's
welcomed
the
at
news.
airports. You were welcomed at bars. You were welcomed at barbershops that didn't have anything else to do. So don't tell us you welcome me into your homes. Nobody was like, what does Jim Acosta think about today's news? Nobody did. Because even on the left, they're like, this dude's just grandstanding. He's terrible. He's pathetic. He's no good. And his legacy will be, he will be that little gnat that was annoying Donald Trump from 2016 to 2020. He's not going to go down in the annals of history as this amazing reporter. He's just going to be another guy that was an attention seeker. And it was just a guy that was too busy trying to do too much for his own good. All right, let's get to our next hot take here. I actually have three of them. Let's see. From rawnewsalert.com. President Donald Trump has just signed an executive order to restrict chemical and surgical gender, quote unquote, affirming care for minors. What does that look like? It looks like, did I lose it? I did lose it. I had the executive order. So pretty much Trump has signed an executive order curtailing mutilation surgery, trans affirming care, which is just mutilation of minors. That's no more. Can't do it. So thank goodness. A promise that is kept, and it is good to see. Of course, the leftists are losing their mind. Oh, I can't mutilate my child anymore. How am I going to get likes on Facebook if I can't show that little Tommy's taking hormone medication and now wears pink dresses? The girls at the book club are not going to like me, because that's all this was. Let's get this straight. Every single time little Johnny or little Jenny, little Johnny put on your heels because when he was 3, because he was messing around, he didn't know any better. Or little Jenny put on a baseball hat. The mom went, oop, I think you're trans. And I think it's time for me to put you on hormone blockers or estrogen blockers and generally, mutilate you and put on a fake, this or do a fake that. And then tell everybody how progressive and amazing I am because I'm affirming little Johnny's decision, even though Johnny doesn't even know what the hell the color purple is or the color red is. And he can't get a tattoo, and he can't drive, and he can't smoke, and he can't enlist in the Navy, or he can't enlist in the Army or the military overall. But you can tell him it's time to chop off the wee-wee and put in a vag. It's madness. Madness. And the left will say that this is fascism because of it, and that how are we ever going to survive the reign of Donald Trump when we cannot affirm little Johnny's instinct? What instinct? What are you talking about? There's none of that. Don't even pretend that this is some kind of negative, that this is some kind of issue that is bad. right? There it is, right there. That is it, 100%. Thank you, Hot Dog 990. I appreciate you, my man on the Rumbles. Yeah, I see you guys. What's going on? Yeah, you guys are on fire in the chat on YouTube. Thank you so much. Thousands of children have been destroyed. These children, and Megyn Kelly, if you like her or not like her, she was right. As soon as you put them on hormone blockers or anything this up, they're sterile. These kids have been denied their natural evolution by psychotic moms, because daddy wasn't doing this. A lot of fathers lost their children on trying to keep them from being mutilated. And so it's absolutely nuts. It is. And now you're 100% right. Now you've got hundreds of and thousands of people who have been transitioned now are hooked onto the pharmaceutical complex, the pharmaceutical industrial complex for the rest of their lives, which is why doctors were like, oh, Johnny put on a pair of pink heels. Let's cut off the weenie. Time to cut off the beans and franks. Oh, little Susie likes baseball. Time to lop off her boobs. Put her on estrogen or put her on testosterone for the rest of her life. It was greed. It was greed, and it was vanity. Vanity on the part of the parents and greed on the part of the pharmaceutical companies that drove this entire thing. And a generation of children were destroyed in the process. So love Trump or hate Trump, there's at least 4 years of sanity. 4 years of sanity that we're not going to mutilate children anymore. And so it's absolutely insane that people defend it. Well, they have to. If we don't, they're going to unalive themselves. Check out the statistics in Sweden. And I've been talking about this for years. Even back when I was teaching, I would show kids when they were talking about this. I wouldn't say anything negative, but I'd show them the statistics of people who transition. The unalive rate is still high because they are mentally not well. And if you give them what they want, it does not make them better. And I've said this before, a correct society is compassionate to those people, not by giving them what they want, but telling them I'm sorry, you think you're a woman, you're actually a man. Or you think you're a man, but you think you're not that person. You are genetically this. And helping them, not indulging them. So thank goodness, for whatever you want to say, President Trump was able to at least get that done for the time being. This story just popped up right before the show began, but I want to cover it. This is very interesting, and it comes to us once again from X, because everything comes from X. From the, what is it? I forgot what this guy's name is. I know, I got to keep doing this. From the Unusual Whales. This was dropped this morning, and I didn't catch it until I was watching the quartering later on this afternoon. Kroger, in collaboration with Microsoft, has introduced something called facial recognition technology in its stores, per the BBC. This system aims to personalize your shopping experience by identifying a customer and, quote unquote, tailoring the price to that customer. Price surging. You ever gotten an Uber on a Saturday night and how the prices went at 4:00? It was $20 for the ride. And then at 8:00, it was $60. Welcome to the future, where if you walk into the store, everybody see the show Minority Report, the movie Minority Report? When you walked in, they scanned your eyes, and then they knew exactly what you were, your name, your identity, your income, all of these other things, your preferences. So somebody like me, they're like, oh, Rick Barrett has walked into the store. He likes Ding Dong. That's going to be clipped. He likes Twinkies. Oh, the price of Twinkies just went up $5. They're usually $2. Now they're $5 because we know Fat Rick likes Twinkies. Or, go down the cereal aisle. Somebody who's health conscious, they don't go to the cereal aisle, so it'll be $1 for them. But they love to get, I don't know, protein shakes or whatever the case may be. Protein shakes go from $5 to $15 because that's what they want. And they have the income for it. And so this guy's a little bit of a communist, but he gets most of the message right.
facial recognition technology. This means that Kroger has the ability to change the prices of their products depending on the image of the person buying them. Not to mention that most corporations already own a lot of our data. This means that depending on the image of the person buying the product, they could access our information and dictate that price. We can also use our image to determine how often we buy certain products and increase the price of that product. This could lead to discriminatory practices using AI as a scapegoat to charge people of different races, different socioeconomic status.
I don't think the race thing's I don't think the race thing's going to be used as much as the income status. Because unless you want to be like stereotypical, oh, well, this white people are in the store, time to increase the price of, I don't know, what do white people eat? Mayo, time to increase the price of mayo by $15. No, it's going to be, these people are on EBT cards, so they have money from the government, so we'll charge them a little bit more. These people are in our lower tax credit, they don't qualify for any benefits, so we'll drop the price a little less. This guy's got 5 kids at home, his wife's at home, and he's a lawyer or whatever, so we won't charge him too much, but the price is $5, so we'll charge him $6. We'll charge an extra $1 because he's got to feed more people, because he's going to probably buy more stuff like that. And so it is what it is in that regard, as far as yeah, that's right, they'll be doing all these other kinds of things and that's, folks, and I use them. The self-checkouts are part of this, because they're scanning your face every time you use the self-checkout. Not like they don't scan your face on your phone or on these it's not, you can't get out of it, but it is what it is in that regard. But he's right, and I don't think the stereotype one is more than the social economic one is what I think is going to be the main driver. My personal.
Different family sizes and different dietary restrictions, different prices for the same products that they are buying. And this is the result of an economic system that cannot
Okay, now he gets into his economic system and capitalism. Shut up, okay? Because in Russia, you just get bread. Right? In communist Russia, everybody waits in line for one loaf of bread. So don't give me the nonsense about socioeconomic capitalism, blah, 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 blah. This is the technocracy. The technocracy going up. And of course, Kroger would charge me an extra $15 for my my flashy energy drink, which is delicious, by the way. It's even better tasting. All right, so keep your eye out for that, how Kroger is going to respond as far as public pressure. Here's a crazy thing. Most people won't even know, because we watch Minority Report. It's so obvious, and it has to be because it's a visual medium, like the retinal scan and all this other kind of stuff. How many times they scan your face per day that you don't know about? How many times do you go on the app and you're like, oh, look at the Hostess cupcakes? Can you tell I haven't had like sweets in a couple days, because all I think about are Twinkies and cupcakes right now? That's my only. It's not like steaks and eggs. It's like Twinkies and cupcakes. Oh, let me look for the cupcakes. Oh, well, the cupcakes are $3 cheaper on the app, or whatever the case may be. It is what it is. It's already been happening. And so this is just the next step. Just like how Amazon had I covered this back when I had my radio show. Amazon has the stores where they put a chip in your hand and you just boop through the door, and then they just charge your Amazon account. There's nobody in the store. Oh, I'm going to grab this, grab that, boop, on the way out, and they just charge you. And they don't care if you steal, because they don't pay employees. So the amount of money that they have to worry about offsetting things being stolen doesn't matter, because they're not paying people to be there. They maybe pay one person to come in at night to restock stuff, but they don't have people on the actual floor. So they don't get, all right, you stole 15 bananas. Whatever, dude, I don't care. The bananas are like 30 cents. But this is the natural progression. And all these other stores are going to adopt it because it's a profit margin. That's right. Oh, my. Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. That's the price of being a fat kid. What can I say? All right. I mean, at this point. All right, folks. So keep your eye on that. That's a story that I feel is developing as far as this whole idea of wireless technology, societies, driverless cars, and Eventually, it'll be retinal scanned to your social credit account. And then based on your social credit score, the food might go up and down as well. Or you only have access, right? Once the social credit score hits, and now I'm off on a tangent, so I got to get back onto the stories. Once the social credit score hits and they're like, oh, Rick, you're morbidly obese. You don't have access to the Twinkies or the Ho-Hos or the cupcakes. You can't eat those. You can only eat these foods. You're only allowed to buy with your social credit score these foods. Which when we get to the obese rapper, you're going to go, oh yeah, maybe that's a good idea. But overall, there will be no freedom of choice because you will only have access to what the system decides. Because if you're healthier, then they don't have to spend money on healthcare, right? So that kind of ideas. That's right. Fat people solidarity, baby, all day. I don't know if you're fat, so that's mean. I know I am, right? I know I am. I try, but I'm going to get, as soon as this show's over, I got to go walk an hour on my stupid treadmill. But I don't know. You're probably not. I've never met you, so don't be mean to yourself. All right, so keep your eye on that as well. First story of the day, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want you to call yourself fat. I'll call myself fat. I am. First story of the day, ladies and gentlemen. U.S. President Donald Trump hints at removing income tax and replacing it with tariffs. And if you don't believe me, you can listen to the horse's mouth.
Rich again, and it's going to happen.
Whoop, wrong one.
Time for the United States to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before. Do you know the United States in 1870 to 1913, all tariffs, and that was the richest period in the history of the United States, relatively speaking. In other words, relatively. And they set up the Great Tariff Commission of 1887, and this commission had one function: what to do with all the money that we took in. It was so enormous that they had no idea. It was a blue ribbon committee. It was set up 1887, and what to do with all of the money that we had. And again, Teddy Roosevelt was a beneficiary because when McKinley was
not a huge
killed,
fan of Teddy Roosevelt,
he took over this vast sum of money, and he did all of those national parks and all of the other things. And I'm not knocking him, but he was given a vast amount of money. And that was all made through tariffs. We had no income tax. The income tax came in 1913. As I said in my speech last week, instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be tariffing and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. Does that make sense, right?
Does that make sense? I don't know. Everybody clap because I'm done talking. That's really what it is. So there are five or six. I got my notes here. 6 things that are positive as far as tariffs. Tariffs could be a good thing in these 6 places. 1, protection of domestic industries. 2, preservation and job creation. 3, revenue generation. That's the big one that Trump's talking about, getting rid of the income tax and then replacing it with tariffs. 4, addressing trade imbalances. 5, as a negotiating tool, which we saw this weekend with Colombia. And now it sounds like Trump's going to lay tariffs on Canada and Mexico starting February 1st. And the thing is, that's always a negotiating tactic. I'm going to put 25% tariffs on you. And everybody's like, no, that's going to be terrible. But really, behind the scenes, they're like, yeah, don't do 25. Can we do like 12, 15%? And then they always negotiate to a side. And then 6, consumer safety and standards. So once again, protection of domestic industries. 2, job preservation and job creation. 3, revenue generation. 4, addressing trade imbalances. 5, negotiating tools. And 6, consumer safety and standards. So those are the positives that people think about as far as the idea of tariffs as helping a union, because we're not a nation, a union with its wealth. So United States President Donald Trump once again is advocating for doing away with the income tax for Americans, saying that it's time for the U.S. to return to a system that made it richer and more powerful ahead, and added that the U.S. should be enriching itself by tariffing and taxing foreign nations. And the idea is that America is going to be very rich again, and we already heard that. We heard all that. So he said in his speech, Trump has repeatedly voiced support for the move, even during his campaign for becoming president. Tariffs are typically charged as a percentage of the price a buyer pays a foreign seller. In the U.S., tariffs are collected by Customs and Border agents at the 328 ports of entry across this union, according to an AP report. It added that mainstream economists are generally skeptical of tariffs because they only subscribe to one economic theory. So you have to always look at that that idea. when you have like economists, they're only schooled in one way of doing things. And to go away from a sure thing, they're always going to hedge their bets against that, considering the mostly inefficient way for government to raise money. So the idea is, hey, if we get rid of income tax, people will have more money in their pocket. Yes, things may be more expensive, and that's one of the negatives that I've been reading about. Higher price for consumers. In the short term, there is higher price for consumers because it can. This weekend, when we were looking at Colombia, the first thing that people were worried about was like, what about higher prices on coffee and flowers? Guess what? In the short term, there is higher prices for those things. But what happens is you go to places like Ecuador or Hawaii makes coffee, or all these places can make coffee. It's not just Colombia and Juan Valdez that we have to rely on for coffee. Flowers. The reasons why we don't grow flowers here is because of free trade agreements to help Colombia get an economy, to help stimulate their economy. You don't think we can grow roses in these United States? Like we can't grow daffodils in the United States and sell them? It's a nonsensical proposition, or any of these things that people are like, well, what about this? Oh, if you put tariffs on Canada, they're going to cut off energy. We have more oil in East Texas than for 100 years. Not more. We have enough oil in East Texas for 100 years of usable growth. And as Brian Nichols was saying, we can always tap into nuclear energy. It's this handcuffing, and it's a short-term handcuffing that people try to scare you. Oh, your way of life is going to be different. It's going to be harder for 15 minutes, so let's stop everything. It's kind of like the immigration argument. Oh, look at this crying child. Let's burn the Constitution. Same thing here. Now, of course, globalists and people who are interested in global trade think that tariffs disrupt international free supply chains, which they do, but Trump doesn't care about that. And you shouldn't either. You should not care about the supply chain of a country of El Salvador, or you should not care about what's going on in the supply chain for the Dominican Republic or any of these places. Oh, well, what happens if we get into a trade war with Switzerland? Then we won't be able to get Toblerones. It's terrible. What are we going to do? It's like, we can make chocolate here. And it's just this idea that they try to appeal to your immediate disruption of a comfortable life that makes it so scary. But think about this. If, I live in Texas, we don't have a state income tax. Now, of course, our property taxes are disgusting, but if I don't have federal income tax on top of state income tax, it would be an absolutely amazing thing to see, because yes, they would have to do an increase in sales tax or some kind of way, much like what I know Texas, New Hampshire has a different system because they don't have state income taxes. I think Nevada is another one of the states that don't have any. There's like 4 other states besides Texas and New Hampshire that don't do state income taxes, and they generate. Guess what? They all generate revenue in other ways. It's not like these states are poor, unlike a state like California, which taxes every single thing you do on planet Earth, whether it's breathing, walking. Nevada, yes, thank you. I thought Nevada was one of them. Nevada generates income even though it doesn't have a state income tax. So you could get rid of a federal income tax, use tariffs to replace some of that money, and then find other ways. Does that mean you might pay a little bit, they'll increase the taxes on gas, right? The federal tax on gas, maybe 2 or 3 cents. But if you think about this, if you get 100% of your paycheck, well, it wouldn't be 100% because you would lose money for things like Social Security. Let's say you get another, I don't know. I don't know the tax brackets. Please forgive me. If you do, let's say 40% is taken out for federal taxes, right? 40%. Let's say instead of 40% being taken out of your taxes, now it's only 20% for things like Social Security, Medicaid, things that we're not going to be able to not pay. We're going to have to pay into that stuff because it's just we can't get out of it, right? Instead of paying 40% on taxes, imagine in a state like Texas where there's no state income tax. Now you're paying only 20% of taxes overall. the amount of money you could reinvest into your communities, reinvest into things like making coffee here, making flowers here, making all these other things here, being able to hire more employees, doing all these amazing things because it's your money and the government has no right to it. The government has no access or should not have any right to your funds. And the taxes are the price we pay for a civil society. Get wrecked on that nonsense. No, it isn't, because we get taxed to the hill and society is no less civilized. Well, how are we going to pave the roads? Something, right? The old, how are we going to pave the roads? And Kermit the Frog comes out and, oh, what about the roads? What about, we'll figure it out. Believe me, you can do, and I know people don't like it, tolled highways. Right? If you got to use the highway, use a toll. I use toll roads all the time. Unless they get backed up, then that really upsets me. But toll roads work. If you could save your money but pay a toll to use the road, yeah, I don't know. It's not a perfect solution. Please, no, don't blow me up in the comment section. But there are ways to get around things. Okay, privatized thing. Almost every issue, almost in every single time that a private institution is lined up with a government institution, private institution always wins. Always. So we'll see how this goes. It's going to be tough because people are going to scream about Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and all these other kinds of things, which is why you might not be able to get completely rid of income tax, right? You'll probably never get rid of income taxes. But what you may be able to do is two things. A, get rid of much of it, right? If we could get rid of 15% of federal taxes by tariffs, 15% more in your pocket. Two, and I think this might be a little bit better, because I don't think we're ever going to get a complete abolishment of income taxes, right? I would like that, but I don't think that's going to happen. What I would like to use this opportunity to is to just flat tax this whole thing, right? They've been talking about it for years. Just go to the federal flat tax. Just go to a flat tax and be done with it. Stop with the brackets. Stop with all the 500 pages of codes. Just go to a flat tax. Flat tax and reduce federal income tax. I think that would be a huge win for us instead of this dream of abolishing the IRS. It's not going to happen. There's too many people that are working there, and they would destroy that argument because too many people would go, well, what about Social Security? They'll use a Social Security and Medicaid argument, and that'll kneecap it. So what you can say is we can reduce it enough to keep that and go to a flat tax and things of that nature. That would be it. But unfortunately, you are correct, Mark, that politicians are like alcoholics with our money. Moving on to our next story here on RickCast. It looks like, man, I gotta get rid of this one. I do not like that one. But today marked the debut of Karoline Levitt, the youngest White House press secretary. So she's the youngest White House press secretary in history. She gave her first press conference today. I got a couple clips from that. I know my nose is killing me right now with my allergies. The 27-year-old who served as Donald Trump's campaign spokeswoman, is expected to make her debut. She did today. The first briefing of the new administration is a huge moment as the press secretary comes face to face with the media, and she did not disappoint, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look at her first introduction here. 4, 3, 2, here we go.
How are we? Good to see all of you. It's an honor to be here with all of you. A lot of familiar faces in the room, a lot of new faces. And President Trump is back, and the golden age of America has most definitely begun. The Senate has already confirmed 5 of President Trump's exceptional cabinet nominees: Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It is imperative that the Senate continues to confirm the remainder of the president's well-qualified nominees as quickly as possible. As you have seen during the past week, President Trump is hard at work fulfilling the promises that he made to the American people on the campaign trail. Since taking the oath of office, President Trump has taken more than 300 executive actions, secured nearly $1 trillion in U.S. investments, deported illegal alien rapists, gang members, and suspected terrorists from our homeland, and restored common sense to the federal government.
in there. So somebody's asking if she was married with babies. I think she is. She is married with children. Yeah, married. Yeah, I think she is. She just had a baby. So she has and they have a son, which was born in this son was born in July 2024. So she has all the babies. So that's Trump has knocked it out of the park with his press secretaries. The first one, like I was explaining before, Spicer had the worst. He had the hardest job because that press was out for blood on day one. They wanted to get after Trump immediately and destroy, credibility, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. So he was just, I think that's, he's like, I'll take the brunt of it. And he did. And then you had Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was an absolute stud. And she's still a stud. And I don't like women in politics, but she's a stud as the governor of Arkansas. She's doing great things in that state, and they're doing really well because of it. I think she's better than her father. Her father's so cringe to the wall, but she's doing great things there. Then, of course, you had Kayleigh McEnany, who everybody, myself included, we loved her press conferences because she was just an absolute beast. And now you have Karoline, who is she studied, I believe, under McEnany, and she's observed and she studied communications and political science at St. Anselm College, a Catholic college in her home state. Does that mean she's Catholic? I don't know, but she's rocking a huge cross. So you gotta go with that. She interned at Fox News and Trump's White House press office while she was there, and she began working for the Trump White House shortly after graduating in 2019 as a speechwriter and then assistant press secretary. And then she ran for Congress in 2022. She helped prepare McEnany for the high pressure briefing. So she knew exactly what she was doing when she went in. So that gave us awesome answers like this.
Pause with so little notice. Why not give organizations more time to plan for the fact that they are about to lose, in some cases, really crucial federal funding, at least for a period of time?
There was notice. It was the executive order that the president signed. There's also a freeze on hiring, as you know, a regulatory freeze, and there's also a freeze on foreign aid. And this is, again, incredibly important to ensure that this administration is taking into consideration how hard the American people are working. And their tax dollars actually matter to this administration. Just during this pause, DOGE and OMB have actually found that there was $37 million that was about to go out the door to the World Health Organization, which is an organization, as you all know, that President Trump, with the swipe of his pen in that executive order, is no longer wants the United States to be a part of. So that wouldn't be in line with the president's agenda. DOGE and OMB also found that there was about to be 50 million taxpayer dollars that went out the door to fund condoms in Gaza.
That's your Catholic president, Joe Biden. I think that the way they broke that down was like 83 condoms per guy, which is like, I thought they were in a war.
That is a preposterous waste of taxpayer money. So that's what this pause is focused on, being good stewards of tax dollars.
So as you can tell, she is, Trump has that type, a strong-willed religious woman, because Huckabee Sanders, McEnany, and her are all religious. I know McEnany's Catholic. She's Catholic, or she went to at least to a Catholic school. I don't want to presume. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a Christian, I believe. And yeah, he finds, and this is all marketing too. After Spicer, because Trump has been known to be like, I like beautiful women around me. I just like looking at them. They're fine. He understands that women tend to be more liked than men. Women like other women. Men like women. Unless you're ungodly, attractive as a man, you can come off as abrasive. Now, of course, there are other things there as well. But women make good front faces of the organization. So it's just very easy to put. They are. What do you want? What do you want? They like to argue. They're into it. Guys are just like, listen, and that's what Spicer was. Listen, the budget's terrible, and we're gonna fix it. Okay, that's it. Women are like, ooh, let me rip apart your argument. I know because I'm married to a beautiful, intelligent woman who, when I get into arguments, I'm like, oh crap, half the time when I get off my skis. So women like to argue, and they make great press secretaries, and they make pretty good lawyers too. So there is that as well. And then we have one more, because there were probably hundreds. There's at least 10 to 15 clips. We don't have enough time for all of that, so I have at least one more. Well, my wife knows. My wife is a beautiful Mexican woman, so she knows. She knows. I ain't worried about that. Last clip.
I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
You know what I mean? That's pretty self-explanatory. It is, but it's not a complete answer. It's most of an answer. So there you go with that. The idea is a couple of them were government ones, and then you had the rubbernecking effect where everybody else was like, oh my gosh, let me get my drone in the air, and let's get this drone in the air. Whee! And then people are like, oh, that's a drone, and like, that's a plane. Oh, that's a drone. That's a helicopter, you dummy. So there was a lot of that. I covered that as well. So you had that explanation. Real quick, if you notice this back here, this is the criteria for new media. I don't have the clip. But Karoline Levitt invited new media, podcasts, TikTokers, all those people to apply to become members of the White House Press Corps. And I will let you know that myself, Rick Barrett of RickCast, put in an application this afternoon for White House press credentials to be a part of the press pool. Now, is there any way on this beautiful blue earth that our Lord created that the White House is going to pick me to come and be a part of the press pool? There's no way on God's green earth, but I at least wanted to try. So I gave it a shot. They're going to pick attractive people. And I get it. They're going to pick young, attractive people to do it because, let's be real, this is Trump's White House. It's going to be like 15, 22-year-old blonde girls. And you know what? I don't fault them for it because that's what we call marketing. My little, having the second coming of Gimli, like me, running through the press pool doesn't help anybody. So it's one of those things, right? If I get it, the standards of the White House, they absolutely nosedive. But I did it. So if there is, I'll tell you this much. If I did get the job, all I would do is ask questions about the gun stuff. That's all I would do. I'd be like, hey, when do we have an ATF director? Because the thing with a press pass is you don't have to go every day. You could go a couple times a week, right? I could fly into DC. I have family that lives in Bethesda. I could fly into DC, stay with them for 2 days, go to 2 press pool meetings a week and fly home. Right? I mean, that it's not outside the realm of possibility. I mean, there are people reporters, that's their job to be there, but you could fly in at, attend 1 or 2 press briefings, go home, and then just leave. And all I would do is ask questions about the Second Amendment. Like, hey, when are the executive orders being rolled back? When are we getting an ATF director? When are we getting rid of suppressors off of the NFA? That's all I would do. So yes, if you'd like to tell the White House press secretary to give me a press pass, I wouldn't say no to that. Anyway, so that was Karoline Levitt. She's going to be a rock star. I think she'll probably be there for the 4 years because the press secretary is one that, Jean-Karine Lesbian, they only had 2 for Biden, right? They had, Raggedy Ann, and then they had Jean-Karine Lesbian. So sometimes they have one person, sometimes they have a rotation. It's a stressful job. So we'll see how long she actually lasts in it. Hopefully she does, for a little while. But that is your brand new press secretary. Everybody thinks she's going to do great. I think she's going to do great. She's pretty much bred for this moment, right? Her formative years, she even had time, to get married and have a kid. So she's very efficient as well. So thumbs up, another quality pick from Donnie T as far as his administration goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, third story here on RickCast. I am the aforementioned Rick, and a man that has indeed applied for a press credential with the White House. I will not get it, but I'm going to keep saying it until they send me a rejection letter. Keep the dream alive, baby. Next one. I thought this was going to be a hot take, but this story has blown up, for lack of a better term. Obese female Detroit rapper, fatfluencer, and that's what the post-millennial is saying, not me. Fatfluencer Dank Demos sues Lyft after the driver tells her she cannot fit in the car. This is a real story. This is 2025. See it for yourself.
She was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch.
Look at how big this woman is. Look at this. This is absolutely disgusting from a human being standpoint. Have some respect. Oh, it's because of the food stamp. Then don't eat as much. Fasting is a thing. And it's actually quite healthy for you, man. Lent's coming up. Eat one meal for 40 days. I guarantee you'll lose some of it. But that's just, come on, man. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it. I know I'm a pudgy man myself. I fight it every day. I love eating food, and I love pizzas and garbage and all that other kind of stuff. But even I have the right sense to try and eat well, or if I'm not, or just eat less.
Party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already.
Oh man, what? Like if I have a Honda Civic and I see you walking out of the door, I'm going to be going, No.
I can fit in this car.
Believe me, that is a sedan. What are you talking about? You can fit in this car? No, you cannot. These people don't understand. People were blown. Oh, she can totally fit. No, you cannot. And do you know why? Because the shocks of the car, the tires, all of these things will be dramatically impacted by putting and she's 500 pounds, your 500-pound behind into the car that's not supposed to be carrying around 500 pounds. And here's the thing. The Lyft driver is not going to be able to go back to this woman in 6 months when his shocks are blown because he had to put in this much weight, or when his tires have more wear on them, or any of these other mechanical things that happen. Oh, it's a car, I can drive. No. You cannot put that much weight in a sedan. There are tow limits to cars. You want to ride, why don't you Uber or Lyft an F-250 dually? Because that's what you're going to need. You need to sit on the back of it. And I know I sound mean, but you are ruining this man's vehicle. You're not going to pay him enough. You're not going to pay him enough to offset the cost of the damage that will be done to that car long term. And by the way, the guy lost his job because of it.
Yes, I can.
I'll go back. She's like, I fit in this car. And you got to hear what he says.
In this car?
Believe me, yeah. Believe me, lady. Believe me. You can't. You need to get at least an Uber X.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. I feel like that was a slap in the face. That's
not a slap in the face. That you are going to cause more wear on the tires.
Like my tires, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
For every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
No, honey, you are not a big person. You are a massive person. You are an aircraft carrier. Okay? A big person is like 10 pounds overweight, 15. You are literally the embodiment of a dreadnought or a battleship.
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber.
Do you hear the engine? That engine is not going to be able to pull her.
You know what? I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized.
Yeah, you don't never have to do it because you don't.
Guys canceled the ride and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough.
Yeah, you're pretty tough. This is gross.
Dank DeMoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
By the way, nobody knew who this woman was 24 hours ago. This is all for clout and for cash. As soon as that guy said, I can't drive you, dollar signs popped in her eyes, and she knew she was going to get all these followers, and everybody's going to be like, oh, wow, she's such a great rapper. Oh, yeah, body and positive. Shut up.
I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like a
Ma'am, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. Somebody's got to tell you for your health. You are not in a healthy state. You are not in a healthy state, and you cannot expect somebody who drives a Toyota Corolla to haul you somewhere.
lift might be hurting pretty soon too.
I knew it was illegal and I knew that it was wrong.
Oh, this guy is why everybody hates lawyers. This guy is why everybody hates lawyers, because this guy's just like, I'm going to get paid.
Her attorneys John Marco and Zach Runyon say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would
Liberal state.
be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, I don't want to have black people in my car, or I don't want to have Christians in my car. Or
The Lyft driver should honestly sue and get this thing to get this thing overturned. You should not have to pay. You should have the right to refuse service.
Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed. Since she posted the encounter on social media, other full-figured folks have reached.
Full-figured. She's double-figured. What are you talking about? She's got 2 stomachs. Like 2 overweight stomachs. And I have a bit of a pudge. And this idea that these full-figured, don't do that to her. You're being too kind. People have to tell her, ma'am, you need to stop eating. For your health, you need to stop. But nope. Oh, everybody's beautiful. She's full-figured. All these other, oh, she's so amazing. Shut up.
Out saying the same thing happened to them.
Oh, yeah, everybody's being discriminated against now. Oh, this guy wouldn't let me on his scooter. Yeah, because the scooter don't work. It's the same thing as fat people on airplanes. Oh, I'm entitled to a free second seat. No, you are not. No, you are not. It is not my fault that you couldn't put down the 3rd cheeseburger from McDonald's. It's not my fault that you have 40 chicken nuggets as an appetizer. But this is accepted behavior in those places. Being a fat person is a protected class now. And then they want free healthcare. I need free healthcare, honey. I'm not paying for your diabetes medication. I shouldn't have to pay for your diabetes medication. So there you go. That's just an absolute ridiculous situation that took place that people are arguing about. And of course, some people are like, oh, she's so beautiful and everybody's beautiful. No. Don't do that. You're actually you're not doing her any favors. You're actually hurting her by enabling it. Same thing with the trans stuff. Do not enable bad behavior. You're not, because you don't like the person, obviously, if you're like, oh, baby, you're beautiful the way you are. Not at, what is she? She's like 500 pounds, 550 or something like that. She's half a ton. When you say it like that, it's kind of crazy. Oh, they won't put her weight in there. I think she's 500 pounds, half a ton. That's half a ton. That's a weight class of a pickup truck. Anyway. Moving on to our last story of the night, ladies and gentlemen, here on RickCast. I am the aforementioned Rick. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you like what I'm doing. You people on Rumble, I see you. You're there. Hit that like button. I see you guys. My people's on X, if you like what we're doing here on X, hit the follow button. We do live shows every night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Last story of the night from Outkick.com. Captain America star, quote unquote, Anthony Mackie whines that a fictional character represents honor, but America does not work. Captain America has morphed into Lieutenant Douchebag. While on a promotional tour in Rome, Anthony Mackie, who plays Captain America in the new Marvel film Captain America: Brave New World, attempted to lecture the audience about what he perceives as America's lack of honor, dignity, and integrity, among other nitpicks. If you don't believe me, you can take a look yourself.
Presents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term, America should be one of those representations. Like, it's about a man who keeps his word, who has honor, dignity, and integrity. Someone who is trustworthy and dependable. It's kind of, this is kind of like an aspect of a dream coming true. When I was a kid, all of us as actors, I believe, want to get back to that day before someone told you no. When you look out your door and you see a 5-year-old kid with a stick and he's slaying dragons to save the princess and
hold on, I'm sorry. Are you gendering people? A boy saving a princess? What if the boy wanted to be a princess, Anthony? You bigot?
Tower. That kid really believes there are dragons out there. That stick is really a sword, and he's really trying to save that princess. And then one day, somebody told him, no, there are no dragons, that's not a sword, and that princess is not there. And all of his little dreams were dashed. So, as an actor, I feel like our job is to get back to the day where we see that dragon and we slay that dragon to save that princess. And that's kind of what this movie was.
So, and then in other interviews, he said his favorite character growing up was Green, which completely negates everything he said. Yeah, Anthony Mackie is not doing any favors. The budget of this film is unreportedly $375 million. The budget of this movie is $375 million. Because this movie was in the can, Trump won, and they went, oh, crap. And they've reshot pretty much the entirety of the film. They've changed the title. The title of the film was New World Order for a while. And then people were like, what does New World Order mean? And they went, no, it's Brave New World. Brave New World now. And apparently Harrison Ford is in that stage of his career where he's just taking any role for money. Money, please. So the budget here, and that's before marketing or anything else. 350 to 375 million. Now the trades will be like, oh, it's only like 250. It's lower than Deadpool's. Nobody's going to admit it. This movie needs to make somewhere between $750 to $1 billion to break even. And I have a feeling that it will absolutely not do that, simply because this press tour is not working. Anthony Mackie was great as Falcon. Falcon was an amazing character. He had his own backstory, he had his own history, he had his own lore. The race swapping of Captain America, which happened in the comics, they do this so they can say it in the movies, to be Falcon destroys all the awesome things in the history that Falcon had in the comic books. For what? So newer Marvel writers who were not very good at anything except destroying what people enjoyed can say, oh, well, he's black now. Well, Captain America is Steve Rogers because he has the super soldier serum and he's from the 40s. And the whole thing with Captain America is he was a symbol of a different age and a new world. And how do those values and those old vintage values work in a new age? And it wrote itself. And now they're trying to be like, well, Anthony, a black man. And as Eric July used to say, giving black characters sloppy seconds doesn't advance them. doesn't help them. Having their own new original characters, Black Panther, Falcon, Storm, etc., tons of them, allows them to create and have people be like, oh, great. When I was younger, when I read comics, like I've said, Spider-Man, Daredevil, and the Punisher were some of mine. Luke Cage was part of those heroes for hires, those street tops. Him and Iron Fist. Luke Cage was awesome. He still is, right? There's all these kinds of characters that exist, but we can't say, all right, we'll have the Luke Cage movie, or we'll have the Falcon movie, or we'll have it. No, it's got to be, take this character. Of course, Chris Evans is a super flaming libtard too, so it doesn't really help. Take this character that people enjoy, take this IP that people enjoy, the value, the lore, and everything that's there, toss it, because we need to replace it with our version. And that's what communists and progressives do. They destroy history to replace it with their own, which is why they get rid of statues and they erase entire sections of U.S. history and bring new ones in, because they need to create their own. That's all Black Captain America is. That's all female Thor is. It's the erasing of that history so they can replace it with their version. And so I expect this movie to flop. This movie comes out in like 2 weeks, which is why Anthony Mackie's making the tour. Now, some people who are caping up for Mackie will say, well, he's trying to make it more palatable for a global audience. I don't think they've ever had to do that with any of the other. Maybe they have to a little bit, but there's better ways of saying it. There's better ways of saying it. Like, oh, well, the values of Captain America, I believe, are universal. They apply to every. You could have said all of that without saying, but I don't think America's in it. Like, bro, you're 3 years too late to this. And the problem is Anthony Mackie's ego is apparently very big, and he's going to get crushed when this movie doesn't do well. But yeah, there's a female Thor. You would not believe some of the race swapped, gender swapped characters that have been done in the last 10 years to satisfy a woke crowd that doesn't buy comic books. The whole the comic book space, people haven't been paying attention to it because the movies were doing well, but the comic book space has been undergoing dramatic changes because there's all kind of like with films. There's no good films are not really written well anymore because the writers that are there don't have life experience and they don't believe in classical literature. They think William Shakespeare and C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, that they're all colonists and racists and all these other things. So they don't read them and they don't understand them. So they don't have a good baseline to create new and interesting stories. Because I mean, all stories are essentially like man versus man, man versus nature, man versus himself, blah, blah, blah. There's only 4 or 5 different actual story types you can write, but there's different ways you can attack them. And if you don't understand classical literature and the way these stories are written, then you have nothing to write off of. And another thing is good writers write what they know. And most millennials and most Gen Zers, they have no life experience because they've lived in bubbles. So they don't know what to write. So they only write progressive woke nonsense. And that's why most of your newer films are terribly written because most writers don't have the experience. All the good writers were forced out because most of them were older and white in favor of younger writers. Now, were the younger writers bad? Probably not theoretically, but they didn't have enough experience to be able to carry these films, which is why when you walk into a film and you're going, this dialogue is awful because they don't know how to write them. And so we're going to see that as well with Captain America, Brave New World. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of a RickCast. Once again, if you like what we did today, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, hit all the buttons to help this show grow. Like those. Look at that one. It's a subscribe button, and it says, hit me, please. If you're on the X machine, hit that follow button for every new show. To the people on Twitch, I think there's one person. Hey, person on Twitch, thank you for watching. I appreciate you watching the show. Once again, I'm going to give myself, we're going to do a little bit of promotion. So coming up in a couple weeks, you are going to be able to join me at the 15th annual Catholic Men's Conference of the Carolinas, which you can get at catholicmenofthecarolinas.org. CatholicMen of the Carolinas.org. Once again, the Bishop of Charleston, Jonathan Franklin, Anthony and Rob of Avoiding Babylon, John Edwards, myself, and Enoch will all be there. Get your tickets at CatholicMen of the Carolinas.org. And if you like books, guess what? I have a book for you. The Armed Catholic, The Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense at Amazon.com. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of RickCast. I appreciate every single one of you hanging out with me. I will talk to you all tomorrow. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.